I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll have a short invocation because we have a lot to get to tonight. Okay. Carol, can we have the roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Susannah Murdock.
Here.
Councilmember Vicki Anderson is absent. Councilmember Elizabeth Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Andrew Gardner.
Here.
Mayor Charles Boss.
Here. All right. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read those minutes?
Yes.
Yep. Move to approve.
Well, I had one suggestion. I don't know if it needs to be on the minutes for October. I was going to bring it up though again. In October 25th, we talked about the fireworks, and I think somebody was supposed to be working on getting a quote from our insurance company, and then also looking into vendors who might be willing to do the fireworks. That wasn't on here. It just said on the minutes, it just said that the Lions Club wasn't going to be doing the July 4th fireworks. So I don't know if we need to add it or not, but I wanted to bring it up again tonight just in case none of that was done. So do y'all think we should add it? And otherwise it's fine. We'll just move on if no other changes.
It is important. I mean,
Okay.
it's something that people ask about and look forward to. So if we want to make something happen, I guess we should modify the minutes to reflect the discussion.
Okay, well, could we modify the minutes?
Where is that? I remember reading that earlier.
Well, it was in the manager's report where it was brought up that the Lions Club wouldn't be doing the fireworks any longer. And once that was done, we talked about getting a quote from our insurance company and getting some vendors, or looking for vendors who might be willing to do the fireworks. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful. Sounds
So
good.
thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
All right. So do we have a motion to approve the November 8th minutes?
Make a motion to approve November 8th and November 22nd.
Oh, sorry.
I'll
There's two.
second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. All right, those are approved, and we'll talk about the other ones at the next meeting. Do we have any citizens who would like to address the council tonight? Yes.
My name is Dick Graham, 405 James Boulevard, and I'm here to tell you about the MAC, what's been happening there. We had a very successful tree lighting on the 4th, and I wish y'all could have attended. We had probably around 700 people, and Santa Claus was a big draw. I want to give a shout out to the fire department for helping us with him. He normally rides the truck over to the MAC from town hall here. This year he arrived with a fractured foot and unable to climb up into that truck. So for all the kids listening, he's going to be fine. He'll be great on Christmas. He'll get all the stuff delivered. But they helped him out of my car when we got to the MAC, into the MAC, back out of the Mac into another car to get back over here to pick up his car. And they were just great about it, the whole bunch of them doing all they could. So want to give them a big appreciation for all their efforts in that. And also to Snowda, Ryan, and Cheryl, they're the ones that put all this together, did all the decorations at the Mac. And if you haven't been by there to see that yet, you ought to go by. There's lights everywhere. It's not just a tree, it's the building, it's shrubs outside, it's everything. So invite you all to come by and see that. We also, this past Saturday and Sunday, we had the play A Stroll Down Holiday Lane. We had about 130 people in attendance at that, which was pretty good. It's a great play. I'd love to see it become something that maybe we don't do every year, but we do every few years for people. And it brings every holiday in, not just Christmas, but we get Kwanzaa and Festivus. I don't know if y'all know Festivus or not, but that was a part of it. So it was great. People really enjoyed it. There's the tree line. The cafeteria has been undergoing a remodeling, and it's probably about 75% complete now. We have new ceiling, new light, the floor's been refinished, painting, window coverings. We've still got some work to do, but it's getting pretty close to being there. It's really looking much, much better. The big news, though, that we had last Wednesday, Peggy Douglas, a member of our board, got a call from the Community Foundation wanting to know if she knew where somebody could donate some money. And she immediately thought of the MAC. She told them that we were trying to raise money for new theater lighting. We're trying to get LED lighting, which is much more flexible. We can change an infinite number of colors in every light. We can move them from the ground rather than climbing a 12-foot ladder to shift them around. So we're trying to raise money for that. And so the Community Foundation has an anonymous donor who's willing to match up to $15,000 for every dollar we raise from now till March 8th, up to $15,000, that donor will match. So we're starting a fundraising campaign on that. If you know of anybody that's looking for a place to donate some money, would be glad to have it. It doubles their money. And it'll be used for that lighting, and if there's any left over, we've got plenty of other places that can be used at the MAC, but right now that lighting. So that's what's happening at the MAC right now. We're coming into a quiet period around Christmas. We're going to be closed the week between Christmas and New Year's. Probably not much going on the week before Christmas either. Kids are out of school, parents and their families are going on vacations and things like that. So it'll be kind of quiet. But starting in January, the Playhouse will be starting their rehearsals and set building. So be getting ready for their play in February, which I hope everybody can come see that.
All right.
That's it.
All right. Thanks a lot. Do we have any other one who like to address the council?
Ann Haygood, 506 James Boulevard. I just wanted to add to something that Dick was just saying about the stroll down Holiday Lane. The playwrights for that were Peggy Douglas and Mary Eliza Hendricks. Peggy is I have not seen Mary Eliza's work on that before. Peggy is a very well-known local playwright, and she was just awarded by the Tennessee Arts Commission with a fellowship for 2022. So if you get an opportunity to see her work, I'd encourage you.
Thank you. Does anyone else like to address the council? All right. We need to go through the resolutions, but Andrew has to leave at what, 6:45? And I need to get Hannah. I want him to hear what Hannah has to say.
Do we need to make a motion to change the order of the?
Probably.
Okay, so can I make a motion to move number 8, MTAS review, to follow number 6, citizens' opportunity to address council?
I'll second that.
Okay.
All right. Does anybody have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So why don't we flip-flop the WWTA presentation with the MTAS review?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, council, for having me back.
Well, glad to have you back.
Yeah. I am passing out to you the summary of the rankings from what you submitted to me today as a council, and then I received Ms. Anderson's back a few days ago before she left town. What I've done is I've compiled them. What you'll see is that if someone ranks their first choice, that person received 4 points. Second choice, 3 points, so on. It explains that at the bottom. But that is so that we can see kind of the composite score of the rankings. But beside it, I also put the number of votes they received. There's no significance to the fact that there are 2 in each box. That is my inability to operate Excel at times. So I could not find the button to undo that. I don't know what I did. So that is what that is. So you'll see that there.
Mine are out of order.
Yours are out of order.
4 is your top rank.
4 is your number 1.
Oh, I'm
3 is your
sorry.
It's
number
more
2.
points for.
They get more points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm
That's okay.
slow.
That's okay.
I had the same thought initially.
I always get that question. Maybe I should tell people like it's like a golf score. Lower is better.
Yeah.
And except you don't want 0. I don't know. Anyway. Okay. So you can kind of see the number that individuals received. I received some questions about moving forward right now and what the next steps are. We're originally scheduled to have interviews the first week of January. If you all do not feel ready yet, the goal tonight would be to choose 3 or 4 to move forward next month. You have the option to hold Zoom interviews if you prefer. And that way, if you feel like you need more information to help narrow down the candidates or see if you're ready to bring somebody in yet. So that is an option as well. What questions do you have?
I would like to hold Zoom interviews before we bring people here to get a better idea of who they are before we bring them in, especially because we had a lot of people vote for a lot of different people. So if there's anybody, how
I
do you
would
feel
agree
about
with that.
I agree with that. And so I guess what the next question would be is how many do we choose for Zoom? Do we just go, 6 seems like a lot. That would probably be 2 3-hour sessions.
But how long do you propose for a Zoom interview?
They're typically around 45 minutes. You can make it shorter. I mean, we can do a 30-minute interview. You're going to get, in a 45-minute interview, you would typically do between probably like 18 questions.
Okay. How does it work? I mean,
Yeah, so we discussed also, I discussed with someone about, I can give them a call if there are people you're interested in, make sure they're aware of the salary range, make sure they want to continue knowing the salary range and that they're still available. So I can make them aware of that. What would then happen is I would help you set up all the Zooms and help you operate them. If you needed that, you may not need that, but I would at least get them all set up for you. Typically when cities do that, they have a screen and they project them up on there. And then you're just talking from your mics, you're up here in the dais and interviewing them. Some people, typically they rotate. If we have sound issues, then either I ask the questions or just one person. So it's like a group interview, a normal one, it's just over Zoom.
if it's Zoom, I mean, you can't just, we all do it from wherever we are and then invite the public to watch only if they want to watch?
No,
No, okay.
because it's really, I mean, we would not advise that because we advise it to be an open meeting. And when it's an open meeting, it has to be in public right now. We can't do them over Zoom.
All right. So if we're going to do that, then we need to set aside a day to do that.
Yeah, so we already asked people to hold that first week of January, so we can either do it, depending on the number, over 2 evenings, a really long afternoon and evening. You can do it during the day, however you want to do it. What would work well is that if you do them that first week of January, then you would be able to, at your first meeting in January, maybe make a decision on your next step and if you want to move forward or not, or how you want to move forward, I should say.
Okay.
So, I mean, we can discuss like the days, but we can also, like, I can have Mr. Moore reach out to you all or someone in the office to set those times up of what your availability is. And then I can begin reaching out to candidates, but you would need to choose who you want to move forward.
Okay.
So,
If we're doing it, if we did it over 2 days and they were, would y'all be comfortable with 30 minutes or is that too short, do you think?
Well, I'll tell you that a lot of times when we schedule them, like I used to always schedule them for an hour, and what happens is half of them don't even go 45 minutes and some go right at an hour. So it really just depends on how people talk. You know, so it's just less questions, but you will be bringing them in. It won't be your only interview. So
Right,
you
that's
can
what I'm
do just
thinking.
30 minutes.
And it doesn't need to be too extensive, it just sort of needs to give us an idea.
an idea of
Sure.
first step type of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's going to be further interviews, so I would almost encourage taking up less of the candidates' time. They have to do each of us. It's going to be,
What
Yeah.
would be,
at
No, no,
30
no.
minutes, it would be
So it's a
2.5
group.
hours.
No, it's a group.
It's a
No,
group
it's a
interview.
group?
Yeah,
yeah.
we're all here
We're all
and
here,
it's
and they're on
projected
the
up
screen.
there on the screen.
But still, you know, if
Yeah.
you're gonna talk to several candidates,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think probably because it is a group, what we need to do is decide on the questions, ask each candidate the same questions,
Oh, yeah.
give them the same amount of time to respond. That way, if they go over their time and we don't get to all the questions, that's not necessarily our responsibility. We don't push somebody else backwards or forwards. I think that that's probably the fairest
Hmm.
way to do it. So in a 30-minute interview, how many questions would you suggest?
I mean, probably 12.
Okay, so
10 to 12. So you could try 12. I mean, because I'm not going to do the questions like, tell us about yourself. You don't need
Yeah.
to know that stuff. And you've got their resume to look at. So we would just, what I could do for you is email each council member individually the proposed questions. I can propose you some, and then you all can email me back. And if someone has a correction or something they think would be good to add, and I can try to look at that and send out a new draft.
I think that,
So with all of us together, I think we probably need more time than 30 minutes.
mhm.
so then do we want to do 45
45,
minutes?
yeah.
And then we'll do 2 evenings of 3, which is going to be probably about just under a 3-hour evening, which I'm fine with. Is everybody else good with that?
How many are we doing?
Well, if we do 6, and I don't even know if we need to do 6. If we do 4, then we do 4, but I'm looking at nice round numbers so we can split them equally.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's see.
And you will see, the only thing to note on here, the number of votes are mostly in order, aside from Kevin Owens, who did receive 2 votes. He's just a lower composite score. Otherwise, those are in order as well.
Maybe you do the top 6.
That's what I was thinking, is the top 6. I mean,
I would even say 2 votes or more, regardless of order.
I was thinking about that too.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens got 2 out of 5 votes. There were
Mhm.
3 people who got just 1 vote. So maybe we do Kevin Owens up.
okay, so put him, and then do we keep the one that just received 1 vote?
Oh, there's another one, just 1 vote.
Yeah, he's right above Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think probably not. You
So
gotta,
anybody with 2 votes.
Okay.
I hate that Vicky's not here to defend herself on that choice. That was her
oh,
top
look,
choice.
like I had that one
And I
really
don't think
close,
she
too.
provided me any additional comments on him in her email.
Okay,
But that's why I like the 2 votes better, is just because, in my opinion, they were all really qualified and kind of on a level playing field. So, to me, the difference between my top and bottom wasn't much, so the fact that two people felt like putting them on the list, to me, is more
Yeah.
important
Okay.
than the ranking itself.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we say everybody with 2 votes? That's 6 people.
Okay.
And then if Vicky feels that strongly about her top choice, that she wants us to interview him, we'll give her that deference, if that's all right.
Works for me.
You okay with that?
That's
Okay.
fine.
That makes
And-
7 interviews.
And then are you
Most.
okay, if someone drops out, I'm gonna just assume we're okay with the number going down versus
Yeah.
feeling a need to replace, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So what I'm gonna do first is try to get your availability, which I guess we won't be able to get Vicky's this week, though, will we? I don't know if she's probably not.
I don't know
because
if
I don't think
she's-
she's reachable. Okay.
I don't know, you could email
Well,
her and see.
I can
Well,
try to
the rest
email
of
her.
us can at least tell you what we have, and then we
Yes,
can try to get
so
a
we
hold
can
of
do
her.
that. And then, I mean, I don't mind going ahead and reaching out to them and giving them the salary range and telling them the week we're gonna hold the interviews and then say, we're firming up the exact night,
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
if you'd like.
We're talking about the first week, so that's the week of January 3rd.
Yeah, so we had looked at being here on the 4th and 5th, but I mean, that's flexible. It's whatever day that week you all need. We are here, we're back all that week at MTS.
I just have
Would
to
these
take the
be during the
garbage out
day?
on Wednesday, the 5th. That's my only obligation.
Is what?
I have to take the garbage out on Wednesday. I have a reminder every Wednesday to take the garbage
That's a
out.
good week if that's your only obligation.
So these would be during the day.
Oh, during the day?
Or the evening.
Or
No, it could be
evening.
the
I don't-
evening.
I mean,
It's up to you. It's what you all would like to do.
Okay, well,
Can't do it on the 4th. There's a conflict. We have court that night.
okay,
Okay.
okay, well, if we're going to do it during the day, then, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that too. We need to, if y'all are fine with that.
I'm available.
I can make myself available whenever,
Okay.
3rd and the 4th,
the 4th and the 5th.
I
right?
can't do Friday.
Okay. All right, so then maybe we'll do during the day, and I'll send out an email and make sure we have that availability, so you all can look at your calendar,
Okay.
look at home, and let me know. And then really, a lot of my other questions, we don't need to look at until you all decide your next step at your first January meeting. So if it's okay with you all, I'll just plan to come back to that first meeting in January after we do the interviews.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Okay.
Yep.
Are there any other questions for me right now?
We have to come to a conclusion on like range. Is
Well-
that something that we can talk to you about individually?
I think there's already a range that was set. Was there
Okay.
not one set with the pay study?
Well, I mean, if we're going just straight by the pay study, then it would be
Mm-hmm.
just step 1, which is not a range, is a single number.
I would probably give them that whole pay range, but if that's not,
Okay.
I don't know your policy, and so if your policy doesn't say that, I would just have to look into that.
I thought they fit on steps based on, like, if they go to the grade and then steps based
Well,
on,
and this is one of
well,
those things that
tenure's
we
one
had
of them,
talked
but isn't
about.
experience one of them?
Sorry, I know we're talking at the same time, Carol, my apologies.
I'll give you the floor.
I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. That was one of the things we had talked about, I think, 2 meetings ago, about some type of position control implementation, yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Position control policy.
Yes, so that, because that doesn't exist, there isn't a policy out there other than the way it was proposed, which had like a 4-step kind of loose range of tenure, but not experience.
Yep.
And so we don't have that policy in place.
And we're not going to by then, so we're gonna have to figure out, I guess,
wish we
on our
would.
own, what we're gonna do. I mean, I don't see how we could. Could we have a policy in place? We're not-
Well,
I'm assuming from the interim town manager's look on his face.
we've graded the position.
Yes, we've
It has a
graded,
grade and it has a range on that grade.
so
Mhm.
we could just do that.
And, you know, look, I mean, that's a pretty wide range, but
And that's why I wonder, should we just do like 1 to 6 for this purpose instead of 1 to 12?
I could at times.
well, but for the right, I mean, I don't know. You're right, that might be a good call.
I mean, I don't know where that falls. I know
Okay.
that sometimes we provide them what the previous manager was making, with the
Okay.
understandability of how long they've been here, you know, just to understand what you had been paying, but there are different options, so I could give, here's
And I
where
would
it
just
starts at. however you want me
Caveat
to word
that
it.
with, I don't recall if that grading included pay from the water company, which is part of,
Well,
current or was part of compensation.
I think the pay scale did include
Did
that.
include it,
It just
okay.
is broken down different in the budget.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That
Um,
would make sense.
Yeah, just don't
Carol.
don't shortchange us. I guess
Yeah.
is all I would say. If it's
Okay.
not included, we need to make sure we include it.
Yeah.
Can I consult with Mr. Moore tomorrow about this? Does that
Okay.
sound good? And is that okay if then we come up with a plan and that's what we move forward with based on whomever? Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else right now? Okay.
Okay,
Thank y'all for having me here.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Hannah. Now, WWTA, sorry to make you wait. And we may have one person getting up and running out during your presentation, so I apologize in advance for that. But thank you for being here, and I'll give you the floor.
So I'm Mike Patrick, and I'm the Executive Director of the WWTA. A little bit about me, I've been with the WWTA for just under 4 years. Been the Executive Director for just under 3. Prior to that, I was with the City of Chattanooga for 25 years, ultimately retiring there as the Director of the Regional Wastewater System. So I'm not as old as I look, although the sewer business will do it to you, that's all I can say. So anyway, I'd also like to recognize Dick G, who's the board chair. Got a couple
Hello.
of projects to talk to you about tonight. It's very brief, because we're really in the beginning phases of these projects. One of them is a rehabilitation alternative study, and that has been in progress since a little bit before September. You may know we've been doing a lot of smoke testing all summer long up here on the mountain, and we've done a lot of other projects in past years, so we've got a lot of data. So basically what this project does is pull all that data together, and ultimately it's going to recommend alternatives for repairing the system. So let me go back and say a little bit about the Signal Mountain wastewater system. There's roughly 40 miles of gravity and pressure sewer pipe and about 930 manholes. And more than a few of these lines are located in places that you would never be able to build them today. Creeks, off ravines, that sort of thing. So that makes repair very complicated. Back when they were built, the permitting situation was a whole lot different than it is now. So we're talking about major expense to redo some of these lines. And in some cases, relocation is not possible. So basically, that's what this study is all about. Let's pull all that together, make some recommendations. There's been a moratorium up here since 2008, and it's my understanding there may have been moratoriums even prior to that. So it's really time for us to get on with things, and that's what we're trying to do. So this initial study, we intend, it's in, I think you should have a handout, I think you have those.
We have it.
We do.
So like I said, it began in September. It's to wind up in May of 2022. And then out of this study will come numerous projects over numerous years, and there will be significant expense. There's no doubt about it. So that's the first project we have going. The second project will be a wet weather relief pump station, and a little bit about the reason this is going on. So there is a chronic overflow, and by chronic overflow, that's an overflow that occurs more than 5 times in a rolling 12-month period from the same manhole. Well, this overflow has been going on for a lot more than that. And it's going on for a couple of reasons. There's excessive inflow and infiltration into the sewer system. And inflow and infiltration is basically rainwater that shouldn't be in there, that's getting in there via cracks, breaks, sometimes storm drain, gutter connections, all those things. The other issue with this particular overflow is the manhole that it comes out of is only about 2 feet deep. And typically manholes are 4 to 6, even, well, much deeper than that. A 2-foot deep manhole is rare, but when the line was laid out, that is the depth of the manhole to correspond to the slopes that required, both upstream and downstream. So it's a design thing. So you say, why can't you just seal the manhole? Well, if we seal the manhole, then typically it will move the overflow either to someone's house or another manhole, or both, which it's not a solution. So one of the things we're looking at, in conjunction with the other study that I mentioned earlier, is potentially what we would call a wet weather relief pump station. It will take some of the flow off that particular line and move it farther downstream in the system, so that particular manhole and line segment doesn't see the flow that it sees now. Now that is really not the solution we would prefer. It may be a necessary solution. We're really looking at doing more rehabilitation upstream and hopefully getting out the excess flow out of there. But you are limited by how much flow you get out. So it's very possible we may need this relief pump station. And the likely location would be somewhere in the vicinity of Alexian Village. So those are the two projects that we have going on that are really at the top of the list for Signal Mountain, at least on the top of the mountain. We have other projects going on with the wastewater plant at the bottom. But those are two projects I wanted to talk to you about tonight. And I am good for any questions you might want to have about anything about the sewer system up here.
That pump station you're talking about, like if you put it in, where would it be? I mean, if it's around Alexian.
We haven't come up with a location yet, haven't really even approached any property owners, primarily because we don't have a location just yet, but it would just be in that general vicinity. And of course, if we build it, and I will say, building this pump station is a last resort. We want to do some other mitigation method beside the pump station, but it's certainly possible that it could happen. We would landscape, try to make the thing as unobtrusive as possible. And we're not talking about a big pump station, because we're not talking about a lot of flow here. So, you know, I'm not sure what you might be picturing, but it's not a big structure.
Well, I'm naive. I don't know what it is to begin with, so.
Primarily, it would be in the ground with just the controls would be something that would be above ground that you could actually see.
Okay.
What size pumps are you talking about for the small?
We haven't gotten all the way there yet, but we're looking at 250,000 gallons per day maximum, so okay. Not large.
But the study, I guess, has already started.
The study started.
And should be done in February. So yes. In February, is that when you're going to move forward, or are you still looking at other options?
We'll still be looking at other options.
Okay.
So ideally, if we find enough leaks and close them off upstream, we might get rid of the issue without needing a pump station.
That is the ultimate desire, yes.
Okay. And then I am ignorant on this stuff, but wouldn't that be pumping it uphill to get it over to Alexian Village?
Well, we would potentially, and we're probably talking about a mile of force main to get it to a point in the system that could accept that kind of flow and not ultimately back up and cause the same problem that we have now. So it's a lengthy force main would go along with the pump station. That's why we'd like to avoid actually doing this project if at all possible.
Are there federal funds that are allocated for this?
No, it will be ratepayer funded one way or the other at this point. But I mean, we can use, well, there's a potential for the American Rescue Plan funds.
Right.
Right now, we are looking at potentially a state revolving fund loan. That's a low interest loan, but we do have to pay all of it back. So.
Okay.
And that's potentially for this project and others up here.
Where does Signal Mountain fall on the priority list of the state revolving?
Well, So with the state revolving fund loans, we're competing with every utility and city in the.
Yeah, I understand that,
state.
but you presently are rated somewhere.
So right now, we have a planning loan for this project. We are not in line anywhere for the actual construction project.
How long does that take if we wanted to go forward?
Somewhat a moving target, but it would be 1.5 to 2 years potentially. And there's a lot of caveats to that because you submit your project, it makes the list or it doesn't make the list, you get the funds or you don't get the funds. That's kind of the way SRF works. Because they have a limited pot of money and a whole lot of utilities competing.
Okay. So if you get these studies done and want to move forward to the next step, it could be a couple of years before anything gets started.
On the pump station project, yes. I do believe there will be some other projects that will come out of the remediation alternative study that we may potentially get going on in the summer or fall, subject to funding availability.
Okay.
And those projects will be funded the same way as the pump station?
Not necessarily. We have
What?
we were able to piggyback, for lack of a better term, on a county bond issue. So the county's not giving us the money. We are just using their credit rating and we are paying that portion of the bond back. So there's potentially some money there available to do a limited number of projects up here. And that's available right now. We just need to find a suitable project up here to use that money for.
There's plenty of options, aren't there?
This is a target-rich environment.
Right.
That's a nice way to say it.
So what are your next steps? I mean, you've got these two studies going on, but what else, if anything, do you have in the works for Signal Mountain?
Well, our next step with this is we're going to have another public meeting. It was originally planned to be this Thursday, but we didn't get our advertisement out in time. So it's probably going to be sometime next month to discuss this with the general public, just like we're doing now. That's an SRF requirement. That's part of the reason we're doing it. And the other reason is we need to be more transparent about what's going on with the sewer system up here. So that's the next step. The step after that will just be identifying these alternatives and breaking them up into affordable projects and moving forward.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
Could you tell them how many is on that list so they can have a better appreciation for how many cities and utilities are asking for this state revolving fund?
I haven't looked at the list lately, but typically there's a couple hundred on the list.
And it is one of the funds, the worse off you are, more likely you are to be funded,
Mhm. Worse off as in
as in bad.
low income or as
No,
in need for?
as in need of overflows
Yes.
and those kind of issues.
Does everybody have a pending consent decree hanging over their heads?
Not everybody, but a lot do.
That seems like it puts us up there at the top, toward the top of the list, I would think. Okay. Anybody have any other questions? If we're to get the infrastructure funds from the federal government, is that something that can speed the process up, or?
I certainly hope so, because there's been a lot of talk about those funds and how you can spend them. And one of the things that you can clearly spend them on is wastewater infrastructure.
Right.
Mhm.
So we would love to see every dollar coming to the county, Hamilton County, to be spent on wastewater infrastructure. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it turns out.
Okay. Is there anything we can do to help that process?
Not that I know of.
All right. Anybody have any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Patrick.
All right.
Thank you.
Before, and thank you for being here, Mr. G, former
Nice to
mayor.
see you.
Nice to see you again. Before we move on to the next thing, which is our resolutions, I wanted to touch base with Hannah. And Hannah, you can sit, you don't have to come up. But we talked about talking to Vicky about that one candidate that she had as her first choice and whether or not to include him. Are you going to reach out to her, or do we need to? Okay. Okay, thanks. All right. So the next item on the agenda is the resolutions. I'll be there in a moment. All right. First resolution is a resolution by the Signal Mountain Town Council adopting bank form resolutions for signatures on behalf of the town.
Motion to approve.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Passes.
If I might. So that means I need to see each of you to sign like 12 or 13 times on these bank documents.
I will arrange a time to do that with you tomorrow. if
That's fine,
possible.
yes, I'm not expecting you to stay tonight, so if we could make some arrangements when it's
Yes.
convenient, so that we can get all of you in to get that
Okay.
signed,
Can you
would be helpful.
email me?
I will email each of you tomorrow to
Thank
see
you.
if we can't schedule
Thank you.
something.
All right.
I gotta.
I'm coming
Okay.
to sign checks
Sounds good.
Thursday, so I could do it then.
Okay,
in the
that'd be
morning.
perfect, perfect.
Right. You have them ready to go tonight, though. If are they ready tonight to sign? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Whatever's most convenient for you. All right. So we still have a quorum, right? Losing Andrew and
Yeah.
Vicky not being here. Okay. All right. Now we have a resolution adopting a water utility call-out pay plan, which we discussed at our last meeting. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Does anybody have any discussion on this?
Mm-mm.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No? All right, that passes. Next is a resolution authorizing the town manager to purchase a Bullseye digital fire extinguisher training system, Sourcewell purchasing contract number, I won't say the number, from NAFCO of Decatur, Alabama, for a price of $27,025.00 to be used by the fire department for the town of Signal Mountain. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
A second.
All right. I trust that everybody read the entire contract.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yes.
So, which leads me to some more questions. Maybe I was the only one that didn't read the entire contract, but
No, I'm just kidding.
what is, so this is being funded through a FEMA grant, correct?
Pardon? Come up.
Yes.
Okay, and with so many grants, there's like compliance points. What are, well, I guess my first question is there an annual maintenance or supply cost to this unit?
No, it's a, like the extinguisher recharging, it's water
Okay,
and batteries. So there's no annual maintenance. There's no software
okay,
with it. And FEMA for fire prevention and safety grants does allow the using of joint purchasing agreements by fire departments.
okay. That was,
it. All right, any other discussion to be had? Looks like a pretty neat machine. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Passes. The next is a resolution authorizing additional funds in the amount of $15,000 for the agreement with CTI Engineers Incorporated for professional design, bidding, and project management services for a water line relocation associated with a TDOT slope stabilization project between Palisades Road and Signal Mountain Boulevard for an amount not to exceed $15,000. We have a motion on this?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not sure we know about this. But
Yeah.
we did enter into a contract, I think, for this stabilization project. I don't know if you know anything about it.
You have an existing contract. This is in addition to, because TDOT is requiring more and more information, and they're gonna bill us for it.
Right. So basically, we have to pay to move the water lines that they're needing moved for their project.
On the engineering part of it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Oh, that'd be great. Why don't you come on up?
They made some revisions that include changing that entire intersection, which really expands our water line project because of that. So it has less to do with the slope stabilization and more to do with the addition of changes to that intersection. So we had to redo our whole entire design. So CTI basically had to start over.
Okay. We were already in the process of redesigning that, and then the
We had
changes
it-
TDOT made
Yep.
caused us to start all over again.
Correct.
All right. That's
So-
unfortunate.
Very.
Um,
We're trying to see if there's anything we can do to oppose it. They're saying that's kind of is what it is right now, so.
Is that something the engineers can kind of go to bat for us on, or?
They're trying to set up some meetings. Obviously, they're not getting anything set till after the first of the year, but CTI is wanting to have some discussion with why, alternatives, things like that, but
Okay.
So they're wanting to change the design of that intersection?
significantly. Yeah. So we're gonna end up, I think the grade's gonna change about 10 feet right there and widen fairly wide. I don't know, I can't remember the exact distance, but it's gonna make that entrance more perpendicular and 2-lane wide going into Palisades, and then narrow back down to what it is.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
Doesn't seem like there's that much room there to widen.
it's gonna look a lot different.
I'm trying to think of where that is exactly.
It's at the Space House, the
Okay.
entrance.
It's
the-
that
the road
hill
to the
that's kind of
Space
up
House.
behind it, where
Right.
we had to do the stabilization
Yeah,
last
yeah,
year, and they put all
okay.
the big
Mhm.
boulders,
Yeah.
you know? I don't know, it
That-
is a
That was
awkward-
the original project, and they were
Yes.
gonna make that permanent and build a retaining wall where that riprap rock
Yes,
is.
the riprap, that's right.
So we were gonna move the water line to the Space House side of the road to get it out from underneath the footer of that wall. Now they're changing the entire scope of that intersection, which is gonna widen it almost to the A-frame driveway, like it's going real wide. Lowering that 10 feet to make a different entrance there.
That'd be,
So we've got to drop the water line 10 feet and go across the road there at the main road instead of back behind the Space House, then tie back into our original line. So
wowzers.
Oh, yeah.
it's gonna look real different there.
Yeah. Okay, well, so this resolution, I guess, would authorize us to pay for additional services that maybe on a slim chance might not have actually happen.
I mean, we would hope, but CTI was hoping to get me the new cost estimate by today, but he called today and I told him, I said, we're planning on 15. He said that for the design section, that'll be fine. I mean, obviously the scope of work and the material and labor is gonna be down the road, but those numbers are gonna be significantly higher than what we first estimated as well. So.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody have any other questions before we let Adam go?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. All right, I think we have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Next resolution is a resolution authorizing a contract extension with Big Woody's Tree Service LLC of Appleton, Tennessee for brush chipping services in the amount of $18,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I assume this is something we've done in the past. And
Yeah, you do it every year.
yeah, okay. And I don't know if you know if the cost is the same as it was in the past or,
Just
okay. All right, any discussion? We have a motion and a second, right? Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. All right, that's all the resolutions. Now, we don't have any ordinances, so we're on to discussion of 4 items. The board applications and appointments, I'm hesitant to do those in light of the fact that only 3 people are here.
I know.
So if it's possible, or if y'all wish to
Maybe
move that to the next meeting, we can.
could we reappoint the people
That's a good idea, yeah.
that have said that they would like to be reappointed
Um,
and then revisit the vacancies at the next meeting?
I think that would be fine, assuming that everybody that wants reappointed, we're good with having, which I'm fine with. But
Yeah,
I know in watching past council, sometimes not everybody gets reappointed. And as long as we make that agree, that.
Well, we could wait and do all of it at the next.
Well, and I wonder, I know this was my suggestion at the last meeting too, but there still are several boards that aren't full and we don't have enough applications. So I'm wondering if we can be very specific with a public announcement about what boards have openings on them and try to solicit more applications for those specific boards instead of just generally.
Yeah, that's a good idea. The library board is the most popular board, it seems like. We have lots of
Yeah.
applicants for the library board.
Yes.
Yep.
Congratulations. Got lots to choose from. But yeah, can we do some targeted, more specific advertisements or promotions for board openings?
Yeah, if you'll tell me what board you're talking about, yes.
Yeah. So there's 3 openings on the Parks Board, and there's only 1 applicant. Stormwater Appeals Board has an opening with no applicants.
The rec board has 1 vacancy. The Parks Board has 2 vacancies. And
Yeah.
1 person was unsure.
Right.
Yeah.
And also the Personnel Committee has 3 applicants for 2 open spots, so.
So I think we're good there, but like I said, on some of these, like the Parks Board, we only have 1 application and 3 openings.
What about the Construction Board of Appeals? There's
That
3
was-
vacancies there.
Yeah.
Did
and
you
that-
mention that?
The council liaison is open there. Or was that you?
That wasn't me, but if I need to do that, I can.
I was going to offer to do it too.
Well, then you go for it, Susannah. Susanna's now the liaison.
Well, we have to do a motion for
Yes, we
that.
do need to make a motion for that.
Y'all might not want me to, but I was just going to say,
Okay, so we can make that motion. Do we need a resolution?
Yeah, I don't know. Do we need a resolution for that or just a
For-
In
motion?
my opinion, no, you do not.
Okay,
But
so
I will yield here.
All right.
okay.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Susannah as the council liaison to the Construction Board of Appeals.
I'll second.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to appoint Susannah Murdock as the council liaison to the Construction Board of Appeals.
And I seconded. All right. Do we need any discussion on this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No? All right.
So,
Yes, I did.
so we've got the rec board, the parks board, the stormwater appeals board. Does the construction board of appeals, do we need to advertise that more
Yes.
too? Okay, so that's the 4 that I have written down. Do you have any others?
Rex Park Construction Board of Appeals. Okay, stormwater.
So the Hemlock Board are all reappoints. The Historical Committee are all reappoints. Annette Allen wants to be reappointed to the Library Board. The Planning Commission has 3 reappoints. The Rec Board has 1 reappoint. The Personnel Committee has 1 reappoint. The Tree Board has 12 reappoints. And then I guess everything else is vacancies.
Well, no, because there's applicants
They're applicants.
for some of these boards. So like, Parks Board has 3 or 2 openings, because there was somebody with a question mark that was unsure of reappointment. So let's just assume that there's 2. There's 2 openings. There's only 1 applicant for that board.
Mhm.
So I would like to be specific and ask for applications for like the Parks Board, the Recreation Board, the Stormwater Appeals Board, nope, not that one, I'm sorry.
Construction.
Construction Board of Appeals. And that looks like the only ones where we actually have openings. If we take into consideration those who have applied, or that we have possible applicants.
Do we have
Plus
any
reappoints.
applicants for Condemnation Board? Because there's 1 vacancy.
We do, and that's something
Couldn't
that we
remember.
can discuss.
2 applicants, actually.
There's 2.
Okay.
One is not a town resident,
Resident, that's
and we'd
right.
have to waive that because it is written that they do have to be town, but the council can waive that, or just like,
I think they're both non-residents, aren't they? I thought one of them,
no, the ones on Northern, which I thought was maybe.
well, he was, I think he said where he voted was in Walden. I thought that meant he wasn't
Oh,
a
yeah,
town
then he's
resident.
not a resident. So they're, both of them are non-residents.
I think. Okay, well, obviously, when we're talking about the rest of the boards, I think we can talk about that too.
Yeah,
But the Construction Board of Appeals is kind of specific. It has to have a homeowner, a building contractor, and a realtor.
Mhm.
So we
Yes.
can't just get anybody. We have to actually be that
yes.
specific about those. Okay, so we'll do some advertising for those positions and then bring this back up at our next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, the next item of discussion is the Hamilton County 911 additional funds. There is a letter explaining why. Certainly unfortunate that of the COVID relief funds, they didn't get any. Do you know, I mean, I don't know if you know any more than this letter says about why.
I do not.
Okay. It doesn't look like there's much we can do about this.
I think what we need is just a motion and a second to approve the payment of it.
Okay. Does that need to be a resolution, or just can it be by
Again,
motion?
in my opinion, no.
Okay,
So we need to vote to,
Just a quick comment. There are several items that I'll be bringing back be talking to the new town manager about bringing back our budget amendment, our mid-year budget amendment. There are several items that y'all have passed over the last 3 to 6 months that increased the budget. And so we'll need to be putting those through, and this will probably be included in that.
okay.
okay.
So are you saying we wait
You
till
do need to
then?
I agree. You do need to make a motion and prove that this is what you want to
Okay.
do, but you'll be seeing it again when I come back with the attempt to fund it, so that we know now it's not funded at this point in the budget.
Right,
But if you choose to go ahead and do that, I'll be bringing back a budget amendment that will cover this.
okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the 911 increase? Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve additional funding in the amount of $6,616 as outlined in the November 9th letter that we received.
I'll second.
Any discussion, further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay, the next item for discussion is the fire captain pay grade.
I would like to move this to the next meeting. Councilman Gardner was the first one that brought this up. And I'm looking for a little bit more information before I feel 100% on which way to go on this. So if we could move this to the next meeting?
Okay, that's fine with me, Susannah.
That's fine with me.
All right, we'll move this discussion to the next meeting. Did we, at our last meeting, agree on the eliminating the firefighter 2 position? Do you remember? Either of you?
We asked for, I thought that we asked for the resolution, because the resolution included both.
Right,
The pay grade change and the elimination of that position. And I thought that we asked for separate resolutions.
right. I thought we were going to push it to this
On-
meeting and separate them into
Mhm.
2 separate resolutions.
As far as that goes, I do have further questions on that, but it can wait until a resolution comes in front of us.
Okay.
So,
That's fine. Do you want to include this as a discussion item, the firefighter 2 position also at the next meeting, or just the pay grade?
it was, and I don't know, my impression is that we were ready to vote on the firefighter 2.
But you just said you had further questions about it.
Well, I guess, I mean, I can't ask them now. So in our discussion at the last meeting, it was discussed that firefighter 2 really is not used, but then I was going back and doing a little bit more research. I think it was like just this past February, an article said that firefighter 2 was the most common firefighter grade. And I don't know if that switched when we adopted a pay scale. I just don't know how less than a year ago, and I'm trying to find that article so I can just quote from it. But a year ago, firefighter 2 was the most common, I think is the way it was said. And then, and I'm sorry, I'm going to find this article. So
I think there's a little confusion. That's talking about a certification level of firefighter 2. That's a Tennessee State Commission on Firefighting, not a pay grade thing. They have to have their
Okay.
firefighter 2. Well, we require the basics firefighter 1 to get hired. Firefighter 2, if they want to, they have to have it, but to participate in the training incentive program, you have to be a firefighter 2. So all of our folks are firefighter 2s. So that's totally different. Doesn't have anything to do with pay.
Okay, so, and the article does refer to pay. It says the medium starting pay for firefighter 2, the classification most of Signal Mountain firefighters fall under. Now, again, I appreciate the news
not
and
correct.
everything. Okay, I guess that's what my question was then. And it would just happen that I read that today and thought,
Right.
huh.
It's, and what that was, in the old pay scale, we had entry level P1, P2, market, and maximum,
Mhm.
which nobody could ever get to maximum. But if somebody came in at a no experience, straight off the street, we would hire them entry level. A firefighter 1 would get P1. Firefighter 2 and EMT would get P2. That's how we did it back then. We had that flexibility
Okay,
based on it. Well, plus firefighter 2 or P2 had to have 3 years of career experience also. So
yeah,
that's how we adjusted folks through the range when we hired entry level folks. But the firefighter 2, there's a little bit of it. That is a certification, not a
okay,
pay grade thing.
okay.
All right, well, we don't have a resolution. It's really not a discussion item either. If we want to discuss it next meeting, we can. We're going to move the fire captain pay grade discussion to our next meeting. And that brings us to the December 27th, 2021 council meeting, which is currently on the agenda. And there was some discussion about if we don't have anything significant on that for that meeting, then we can move to eliminate or cancel it, I guess. I don't remember the specific process for doing that. Maybe Harry can tell us if there's a particular process or. And do,
I think the notice would need to go out, if there will not be, and I don't think you all have to take any action tonight.
okay. Well, aren't we required to have 2 meetings a month?
I think that we've just put out a notice that we're not having a meeting.
Yeah, I mean,
We
that's
just-
the way it's been done before.
That's how we've done it
Okay.
before.
I mean, the charter says that we are supposed to have the meetings the.
Second and
what is
fourth
it, second and
Monday.
fourth.
Okay.
But I think there's language in there, something like if it falls on a holiday or,
All right,
But
before we
I
cancel
guess
it,
To be perfectly safe, you all can move tonight to not have a December 27th meeting,
okay,
and if that passes, then do the notice.
yeah.
okay.
Before we do that, I guess I would ask Mr. Moore if he believes we have some important agenda items for that meeting.
At this time, we don't have anything at this time.
Okay.
It's pressing.
All right,
Okay.
All right, well, I'll make a motion that we don't have a meeting on December 27th.
I will second that motion.
all right. Do we need any discussion? Kind of discussed it already. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No?
Is that unanimous?
Well, we're lucky that Andrew wasn't here, and Vicky, 'cause they would have pressed hard to have that meeting. Okay, so we are now down to the manager's report. First one for our interim town manager, Mitchell Moore. For those out there watching on YouTube, if you haven't met him, introducing Mitchell Moore, the former retired town manager from most recently the city of Athens, Tennessee, who is our interim town manager. So, give you the floor.
Thank you. I want to say first off that the employees have been great. Anything I needed, they've gotten it for me. A lot they have gotten for me, by the way. So I want to give them a shout out. They did a great job. I want to read what we have put out today to all property owners, town of Signal Mountain. Notification regarding 2021 stormwater billing so that we can get it on the tube, as well as we put this in your boxes. Every property owner within the town of Signal Mountain should have received by mail a bill for stormwater user fees. In years past, the bill has been attached to your property tax bill. And I will say that on each property tax bill that you received this year, if you had looked at the bottom, it stated that there was not a stormwater with this bill. But a lot of people see the number, write the check, don't really pay attention to what everything is on that pink page or whatever color it is. This year, the rate for the stormwater bills was increased by 30%, and it was not billed with property tax. Each stormwater bill is calculated by multiplying the square feet of impervious surface on an individual property by a rate of 0.021 cents per square foot. The impervious square footage on any property shall include any area under roof, any sidewalks and driveways, patios, deck areas, as well as any other impervious surfaces within a property, which would include utility buildings, things of that nature. Stormwater fees are used to maintain a drainage system within the town and also to provide means of ensuring that stormwater runoff is not causing pollution within the streams on Signal Mountain. Stormwater program in the town of Signal Mountain is mandated by the federal government, and I believe this has been in place in your community since 2002, if I'm not mistaken. Your stormwater bill can be paid at Town Hall by mailing or by mailing to 1111 Ridgeway Avenue, Signal Mountain, Tennessee 37377.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It is confusing this year because it's out of the normal.
Yes,
So
I've had people asking me about it.
I'm sure all of you have.
My accountant, my wife, asked me about it. She was
Well, it
very
was-
confused.
I saw it too, that we
Good.
pay.
I don't really have any other than I've talked to a couple of you, maybe not all of you, that I feel the need for you to have work sessions for the next couple of months, especially. You have a lot of items that tend to be maybe pushed to the side some. One of those being your American Rescue Plan Act. We need to decide, in fact, what are we going to do, how are we going to do it, those kind of things, and need to have a full open discussion about that. We plan to, in the future, have, and this will be the first that some of these department heads have heard this, we plan in the future to have department reports that will come with your agenda. It will probably be once monthly, not every meeting, or I may split them up and give you part of them with the second Monday and part of them with the fourth Monday. They will be on paper. There's no presentations. Just trying to keep you up to date with what we're doing in the town, how the departments are operating.
All right.
And with that, I'm gonna quit.
So can I ask a question about the work sessions to Harry?
Can you what? I'm sorry.
I have a question for Harry about
Oh.
work sessions. I mean, there's been some discussion that we shouldn't have work sessions because our agenda has to remain in a certain order. According to our charter, I mean, we had work sessions for years. So it's my understanding we can do it, but we do have to, or I should ask, do we have to just make sure that there is an opportunity for citizens to address council at the work session as well?
That's correct, because that's required in the charter. I think our charter says specifically, each meeting shall have these items in this order.
Okay,
And apparently, in the past, there have been work sessions where this exact list was not followed. And for a long time, apparently, that was not a problem, as long as there were always opportunities for citizens to address the council. somewhere along the way, it got to be a problem if this exact order was not followed.
And again, my understanding would be that if we chose to, for our work session, if we chose to allow citizens the opportunity to address council at the end instead of the beginning, since there will be a lot of discussion during the work session, it might be better for them, for their input to be after they hear our discussion. We can make the motion to change that at the beginning of the meeting, correct?
That's correct.
So, Mr. Moore, are we discussing adding a third meeting or just changing one of our meetings to a work session? What is your,
I am talking about adding a third meeting.
okay,
It's up to you to say, Mitch, we're not having a third meeting. That's your prerogative. I'm just recommending that you have some work sessions that are a little more relaxed, if you will, so you can talk it, decide on it consensus-wise. You can't make any votes in the work session, no voting. You're just trying to come to a consensus, so when you come to your next council meeting, and that in fact is on your agenda, you've already discussed it. Well, I
Yeah.
don't like this and I don't like that. And so when you come to the meeting, you're all, I hope, better informed and ready to vote.
I absolutely agree with you on this.
I'm on board with that.
I would support having a third work session meeting, especially through like the next, if we make the commitment for 2 or 3 months.
Just remember that your January is getting crowded because you've got your city manager,
Yeah.
sorry, your town manager Zooms and maybe interviews in person and all those going on. So just keep your dates in mind.
Okay.
At least we get paid a lot.
Okay, well, do we want to have a work session? I mean, we need one, but do we want to have one in January at some point? If not, do we want to have one early February? I'll be out of town one weekend in January.
May I ask Mr. Moore to poll the council individually as far as that goes? I think that might be, like, do we want to start in January if we want to start? Have you ever used, what do they call it? Like bubble polls or something like that? They're the best.
Are you talking about now or after the meeting?
After the meeting.
Okay.
Like, because there's 2 council members not here, and I
True.
think they are going to need to have a say in whether we continue to pack our schedules the way that our January just might look.
Okay. And do we know, we're not sure that Vicky's available, right? Reachable?
She said that she would be off and on, I think.
Okay.
Did she not send that in an email?
I think she did.
Okay, so good idea. If you could poll the council members about whether to have one in January, and if so, when. We're already going to hopefully have some Zoom interviews, meaning we're going to have at least 2 meetings in the first week of January, hopefully. And then our regular meeting on the 8th, and then another meeting in January, and then maybe interviews in person. So there's plenty to do.
Is your meeting on the 8th or the 15th?
I think
Sorry.
it's the 10th.
Well, one of those days, it's somewhere on
It will be the 10th.
the 10th. Yep, the 10th.
10th and the 24th.
Sure, that's what I said. Okay, so,
10th and the 24th.
all right, that sounds good. Please poll us and we'll work on that. All right, do we have any communications and reports from the mayor and council? Okay, any reports from committees or boards? All right, then our next meeting's canceled on December 27th, 2021. Our next meeting then will be official meeting will be January 10th.
Wait a second, I have some other business.
Okay,
We earmarked $30,000 to participate in the Mountaintop Growth Plan with Walden and the county.
mhm.
And Chip, I think, is getting that rolling. I have not been in contact with him. Has he contacted you, Charlie?
No.
So if we would like to have some more fun and add something else to our item, our town business, I mean, that's something that will be coming up, I guess, this year. So maybe I'll try to reach out to him and find out how we need to get involved with them on that.
And I would like more information to understand what their goal
Yes.
is
Maybe they can come
with
and,
that, because $30,000, I mean, Carol just mentioned about the budget amendments that are coming. And
yes.
there would definitely have to be an obvious benefit, I think.
Yeah, I think that if they could come and give us a rundown of, what it will encompass and how they plan to do it and how the three entities will come together
And I
and
think,
what the finished product will look like.
and I think that's my other question for Harry is in this type of, and granted, we don't really know what it looks like, but we've got 3 separate governments working together on a single plan. Would we need an interlocal agreement to even start out once we figure out like what we're doing? Or does that only work?
I don't think we need an interlocal agreement, just, I'm not familiar with exactly what the plan's gonna be, but just to start discussions, I don't think we need it.
If we're going to pay money for something, we
Yeah.
should, yeah.
Yeah,
obviously.
and that's, because there was an article last week in the paper that it would be like under $50,000.
Yes, and so it may not even end up being,
Well, it can't be over $30,000.
yes,
For
I think
us.
our
For
part,
us.
our part may end up being less than that. I have no idea.
No, it was talking about our part being under $50,000, that Walden was something, and then
Really?
I thought that's
No,
what
I
it said, but again,
That's not how I interpreted it, but.
okay, that's fine.
What's the name of what you're talking about?
Well, I don't remember the name of the consulting group that they have retained to conduct this study, but it would be a mountaintop growth plan, sort of like a strategic plan,
Okay.
looking forward into the future, talking about interconnectivity between the unincorporated part of Signal Mountain and Walden and the town, so that everybody can kind of share information and be forward thinking as to, what we want to look like. And we've participated in studies like this in the past, but it's been a while.
And
So
so
the
the
idea is-
30,000 in the county a portion and Walden a portion, whatever those numbers are, is to pay for the consultant?
Yes, and they would conduct.
Strictly the consultant?
Then they would conduct the charrettes, it'd be involve community meetings, it'll, involve people participating and kind of visioning and all that kind of,
Well, they haven't retained a consultant.
I think they have.
I think this
Based-
grew out of Walden
It
is
did.
doing a land use plan
It did.
and wanted to make it a bigger, maybe they're doing their land use plan, but they also wanted to expand this into a mountaintop growth plan that involved Hamilton County, Walden, and Signal Mountain. And I don't know, but I would assume that they're maybe going to use the same group that's doing their land use plan to do
I
this
think it is.
entire project.
Well, if there's gonna be an agreement that we share in that cost, yes, there would be
That's what I thought.
an interlocal agreement.
That's,
But
Well,
it would be a good idea for us to have, to get some information from Lee Davis or Chip Baker
Yes.
or both of them. And maybe one of them or both could come to a meeting and talk about
I
what the
think
plan
that'd be
is.
really great.
All right.
I agree.
You want to reach out to them
will.
and see? Okay. All right. All right. Excellent. Thank you. Do we have any other business?
Claire?
Hand raised.
Common Ground Urban Design.
Thank you.
That's
That's
what
the name.
That's it.
I was like, it's Root something or Common Ground, Urban Design and Planning. That's the name of the group.
I don't want us to forget about our sidewalk project. I think ASA Engineering was
Yes.
talking about having some revisions due back from TDOT in November. And
Yes.
maybe, I don't want to make this a big discussion, but at some point, maybe next meeting, we need to invite ASA Engineering to come back and tell us what the progress they're making. on this sidewalk project. I'm trying to read my handwriting from the notes I made, and I can't read it. So I'll just assume that I would have written it better if it was that important. Okay, so that's all for other business. We will adjourn our meeting. Thank you.